Hi, I'm Cody Bainham, and this is the reading of my SILEX project. For the project, I chose the topic of Middlesex County Courthouse, and I decided to write a short story fiction based on the resident ghost of the building, Marion Pegleg Brown. Um, my story is titled The Night Guard. Money was tight when Dad got sick. I had moved to London during my freshman year of college, and I was going to move back home to help out. Dad wouldn't have it. He wanted me to stay in school, and they had already paid for my living expenses. So to help Mom with the bills, I got myself a job with a temp agency and sent her most of my paychecks. The work didn't bring in much, but it was something. At the very least, it gave me a chance to try out different jobs and see what appealed to me. I would get emails notifying me of short-term contracts in my area, and I was able to pick jobs to work around my school schedule. I took any listing I could, mostly nighttime positions, graveyard shifts that needed to be covered, which was perfect for me because I had been having some insomnia since Dad was diagnosed. I saw a lot of weird things working nights in the city. Mentally ill homeless people destroying property, drunk college girls urinating in parking lots, very angry raccoons. Things were definitely less exciting in my hometown. But when it came to really freaky shit, all of that paled in comparison to the guard duty listing I picked up one winter night. The listing stated that a night watch position was available for a security company that outsourced guards on temporary contracts. This contract was $160 per night for 3 nights and offered transportation to and from the location. Experience as a security guard was listed as being preferred, but other than that, there wasn't much more info. At the time, it sounded pretty laid back to me, and the pay was nice, so I called the number attached to the listing. The man who answered was named Rocco, and he informed me that he was looking for someone to fill in for his night watch partner who was out with the flu. After some exaggerating on my part regarding my level of experience, he offered me the job on the spot, and we arranged a rideshare for the same night. That evening, Rocco picked me up in a black Honda Accord brandishing Stacy Security decal stickers. He was very friendly during the ride, and we quickly bonded over similar tastes in music. Once the introductions concluded, I asked him about the job. I learned that the job was to essentially watch over an old courthouse that was in the process of being repurposed by a new owner. The Middlesex County Courthouse is a historic building in downtown London. I remembered being driven by it a few times on school tours. I thought it was beautiful, but I didn't know much more about it. Upon our arrival to the courthouse, I was given a tour of the building, visited Rocco's post at the rear entrance, and was shown to my desk in the front lobby. Rocco gave me some paperwork to fill out while he made his first rounds before dark. Afterwards, he went across the street to get us coffee and donuts as we settled in. Before he returned to his post, he double-checked the radios and gave me a folded piece of paper. Almost forgot. These are your instructions for the night. Make sure you read all of them. It's important, he said while devouring an apple fritter. With those final words of wisdom, I officially began my first night shift as a guard. My primary concern was filling out the required paperwork. After that, I ran scenarios of guarding the place from burglars in my head. Things got boring pretty quick, so I put on some music and I began studying a little bit since the place was so quiet. A little while later, I could hear Rocco making another round down one of the dimly lit hallways. He was tapping something on the floor as he walked. It sounded like wood rhythmically tapping the concrete floors, like he was using a cane. I could hear it from pretty far away, so I quickly put my textbook away so it looked like I was working, while I waited for him to approach the front desk. As the tapping got closer, I began to wonder if I saw him using a cane before. I was sure he did not. Suddenly, the tapping stopped, and Rocco never did come to check on me. I decided to look down the hallway to make sure everything was okay, and caught a glimpse of him at the far end rounding the corner. I shrugged it off and went back to my desk, when I remembered the folding piece of paper. Listed on the paper were a series of instructions written in bad handwriting. Number 1. Maintain a quiet environment. No music or loud noises. I immediately turned down the music and continued reading. Stay in the lobby. Number 3. Do not open any doors to outside. Before I could finish, I was startled by 3 loud bangs echoing from the west hallway. I radioed Rocco, asking him if he needed help with something. There was no answer. Although rule number 2 explicitly said not to, I felt the need to investigate and make sure Rocco was okay. I started down the hallway with my flashlight until I came to an intersecting foyer. I found a cluster of empty offices, some with doors closed and some with doors open. Through one of the open doors, I could see out a window into the back courtyard of the property. It was snowing heavily, but for a moment I thought I saw something moving. I thought I saw some movement along one of the surrounding stone walls, which was lit up by floodlights. When I looked again, I saw nothing, but decided I should let Rocco know in case we have an intruder situation. I called him on the radio again. No answer. Then I heard distant tapping further down the hall and tried to catch up with my elusive partner. I followed the sound of tapping part of the way to Rocco's station. When it stopped, I assumed he had taken a seat at his desk. When I arrived at his station, I was surprised to find him fast asleep in his chair. He was in such a deep sleep, in fact, he didn't even hear me come in. I wondered how he could be asleep when I just heard him walking the halls. That's when I noticed that his coffee was cold and still fairly full. He had been sleeping for a while. I reached out to wake him when 3 more loud bangs erupted from the door to my right, an exit to the back courtyard. It scared the shit out of me, but Rocco didn't budge. I looked through the peephole and no one was at the door, but on the stone wall I could see movement again. It looked like the shadow of someone swinging slightly back and forth, hanging from a noose. I frantically woke up Rocco, who seemed unbothered by my hysterics. He stood up from his chair, stretched his back, and went to the restroom, reminding me that everything will be fine if I follow the instructions provided as he closed the door behind him. I hurried back to my station, knowing this job was not like the others. I scrambled for the instructions and turned off my music completely this time. I continued reading the rest of the instructions. Number 4. Ignore the sounds of wood tapping on the floors. Number 5. If you hear someone call your name, you did not. And number 6. No matter what, do not look up from your desk if you feel someone is watching you. I radioed Rocco again, making sure not to use his name. Hey man, what is up with these instructions? They're really freaking me out. What is going on here? I waited for what felt like minutes for his reply. Sorry, kid. If I told you before, you might not have taken the job. Usually we don't have any problems, but you violated rules 1, 2, and 4, so now we're getting some action. This place is haunted by the ghost of Marion Pegleg Brown. The guy claimed he was innocent of murdering a local cop, but they hung him in the courtyard anyway back in 1899. Legend has it, he cursed this place before they pulled the lever. There was lightning and thunder, some pretty theatrical shit. If you didn't believe in ghosts before, you should now. I sat at my desk petrified. I didn't want to find out what would happen if I broke any more rules, so I sat in the eerie silence and read my textbook. For the rest of the night, I stared at a page through teary eyes, while a man's voice whispered my name from across the desk. That was the last time I ever worked as a night guard.